At 1 a.m. Christmas Eve 1945, a fire raged through the house of the Sodder family in the town of Fayetteville, West Virginia. George and Jenny Sodder survived, as did 4 of their 9 children who lived there. The other 5 children were never found. No bodies, no bones, no nothing. This is the Sodder Family House Fire Mystery. In the town of Fayetteville in West Virginia on Christmas Eve 1945, the Sodder family were getting ready for tomorrow, Christmas Day. George and his wife Jenny lived with 9 of their 10 children in their 2-storey timber frame house just 2 miles north of the town. The younger children were allowed to stay up later that evening as they were too excited about Christmas the next morning. George and their 2 eldest sons had already gone to bed, tired after the day's work. Jenny also went to bed not long after at around 12:30 a.m, but was awoken by the telephone ringing. Jenny did not recognise who it was on the phone, but heard that there was some kind of party in the background. It was a strange woman's voice. So when Jenny informed the lady on the phone that she must have got the wrong number, the stranger let out a weird laugh and hung up. A little later she was awoken again, this time by the sound of what seemed like a rock hitting the roof and then falling on the floor. After checking and found nothing, she went back to bed. She was then woken for the 3rd time, this time by the smelling of smoke, and as she got up to investigate, she found George's office room ablaze. Jenny awoke George and their eldest sons, and daughter Marion had awoken and took her 2-year-old daughter Sylvia out of the house. They tried to get the rest, but the fire had took hold too strong. Both parents, Jenny and George, escaped the house, as did Marion, Sylvia, John and George Jr. Bizarrely, every attempt to save the other children were met with a string of seemingly bad luck and complications. Firstly, the phone was now not working, and when the neighbours used their phones to call the fire department, nobody could get through. Then George had the idea of reaching them via the bedroom window round the back, but he could not find the ladder which was usually leant up against the wall. He then decided to use his trucks to reach the window, but both of his trucks strangely failed to start, even though they had worked perfectly the previous day. Then there was the water barrel that could have been used to help extinguish the flames, but it was frozen solid. The firefighters eventually arrived at 8 a.m, 7 hours later. One of the firefighters was also Jenny's brother, but by that time there was nothing they could do apart from look through the ashes and the debris in the expectation to find the missing children's bones and remains. But bizarrely nothing was found. So what did happen to the children stuck in the house? Was foul play involved? Did they slip into another reality and simply disappear? There were some curious events leading up to and after the event that suggest it may have been orchestrated. Just who was the strange lady who rung the home just minutes before the fire? And did someone tamper with the trucks and the ladders as well as their phone? Did someone purposely prevent other people from getting through to the fire department? Also in October, just a couple of months before the tragic fire, a life insurance salesman had threatened George that his house would go up in smoke because of his failure to sell insurance to George. Was the fire an act of revenge from the salesman and their company? Not long after, an electrician had also called on the Sodder house and warned the family that a faulty fuse box could cause a severe fire. George then called the electric company, who had not long rewired the property, to check. The company assured George it was all perfectly safe. So was it poor workmanship and negligence? As an inquest from the fire department concluded that the fire started from faulty wiring. For added oddity, the insurance man who threatened George was also one of the jurors during the inquest, which declared the fire was accidental. Later studies confirmed that the heat of the fire could not have completely destroyed the bones and the remains of the poor children, even though the fire chief concluded that that is what exactly happened. Was there a possible kidnap plot? Jenny believed her children may have been kidnapped, as she failed to believe the fire could have destroyed the bones so quickly. Jenny and George also placed a billboard ad offering $5,000 for any helpful information. The police received many reports of sightings of the children, including one woman who claimed she served them breakfast that Christmas morning, and that the children were accompanied by 2 men and 2 women, all Italian, as George was an Italian descendant born in Italy, as was Jenny. In addition, George Sodder had controversial political beliefs. He was anti-Mussolini and against fascism in his homeland country. Many of his neighbours in Fayetteville were also Italian immigrants who strongly opposed George's stance on Mussolini and fascism. George's coal trucking business was also under threat from the Sicilian mafia, and a couple of weeks before the fire, the Sodder family had complained about a strange car following them during a school run. In 1947, George and Jenny appealed directly to the director of the FBI, J. Edgar Hoover, who personally wrote back to the Sodder family, but had just passed the case on to local authorities, all of which refused to give further investigations the go-ahead. Despite further investigations, the case remains inconclusive. We may never know what really happened to the Sodder family that Christmas morning 1945. There's evidence that suggests all manner of conclusions. It's up to you to decide which one is more likely. Until next time, good night.